Last year I made several videos of classic car runs and shows and of other people's cars, but now that spring is sprung, I hope they're doing some more this year in the coming months. But I'm kicking off with this one about my own Fulvia. If you're a watcher of bangers and cash, you'll be familiar with an enthusing about a rare survivor that's never been welded, nice patina, etc., and you'll be reminded that it's only original once. The fact is, my Fulvia wasn't original when I bought it, and never can be, so I'm relaxed about having the odd enhancement or upgrade that isn't out of keeping with the general ethos of the car. My objective has been to make it as good as it can be without going overboard, keeping it in good order so that it gives me pleasure to drive and to appreciate being the owner of what's a very clever piece of automotive engineering. First impressions of the car are pretty good. The previous owner spent big bucks over several years in restoration of the bodywork and the running gear. It drives and handles nicely on the road, and the brakes are spot on, but on closer inspection you can find bits of finishing trim and the like that aren't great. The doors need a good slam to shut them properly, and perhaps some fettling with seals and locking mechanisms could be done, but as the shut lines aren't too bad, I'm leaving things as they are. The car had been debumpered and had twin spotlights when I got it, but I wasn't going to be rallying, and generally I avoid driving in the dark. I returned it to standard road trim. The bumpers themselves weren't too bad, but there were some damaged and missing fitments, so the mounting arrangements had to be modified to get them on securely. The obvious non-standard items in the car are the Chromodora alloy wheels, similar but not the same as those you get on the 1.6 HF. They're not an uncommon enhancement, and were on the car when I bought it. Some alloys you see do look out of place, but to me these don't, and as I've no wish to disturb the car's fine handling, they're going to stay. While we're on the subject of variances from originality, the others I can say are the electric fuel pump, a powder-coated engine rocker cover. Alright, it's not to everyone's taste, but has a certain appeal. It came with the car and I've got used to it. The retrimmed leather upholstery, USB and 12 volt power sockets in the central console. They're both pretty useful. Non-original items which are down to me are the 123 electronic distributor and the inertial seat belts. The previous owner had the engine rebuilt, but they didn't get it all right. It's rated at 90 brake horsepower, but when I got the car I felt it was well short. I lived with it for the first 2 years before deciding to have the valve and ignition timing overhauled. Mechanic Paul fitted a new timing chain and tensioner and a 123 distributor. It goes really well now, and if you haven't seen my earlier video on that work, you might like to watch it. There's a bit of an oil drip after a run, but it burns hardly any. Might only take half a litre or so between oil changes. The spark plugs indicate good combustion, so I haven't had to tinker with the carburation. Engine cooling's been a bit of a mini saga. This despite the previous owner having driven the car to Italy and back the year before I bought it. The first overheating incident was found to be caused by a loose wire connector to the electric fan. That was an easy fix. Then the water pump. The one you see, on which touchwood hasn't leaked either coolant or oil from the respective drive shaft seals, is the third in a few thousand miles. It was the subject of an article I wrote for the Lancia Club's magazine, so I'm not going to repeat it here, but just to say, be careful who you buy one from. I was also investigating coolant loss from the overflow pipe at the top of the radiator, so as at least to capture coolant when it occurred rather than just spraying all over the place. I fitted a bottle onto the end of the overflow pipe. The culprit turned out to be the radiator filler cap. When you fit a cap you have to press down firmly to turn it and lock it into place. You might think that you compressed the spring and made the seal, but if your radiator has a slightly longer filler neck like mine and you've used a standard radiator cap, then you haven't achieved that seal. Since fitting a cap of the correct dimension, that does compress down onto the rubber seal, I've not lost a drop of coolant even when the temperature gauge has crept up and I hear the electric fan kick in. The interior is lovely in its cream leather upholstery. It goes well with the wood veneer dash. The electric clock keeps perfect time, which is quite surprising, although the perspex face is showing its age, so it's not especially useful. All the other driving instruments work fine and are clear. They probably had new faces at some point. Another aspect of the subpar finishing and the bodywork restoration is the lack of connectivity between the heating and vent slide levers and the relevant apparatus below. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually matter very much. I just adjust the heater valve on a seasonal basis. I close it in the summer and part open it in the winter. To fix these controls involves removal of the dash top and some bodily contortion, all a bit tricky, but it's not a priority, so I haven't done it yet. At the end of last year, Paul serviced the brake calipers and pistons and adjusted the steering to eliminate a little play. I've just had the car up at M&D Motors for its MOT. It's 2 years since the last one, and it got a pass with no advisories. So we're ready to go.